Today I'm experimenting with some new RGB lights that I just recently got from Zune and sharing with you 3 super easy lighting setups using only 2 lights that you can recreate for yourself anywhere. If you know my work at all, you know how much I love using RGB lights, especially continuous ones. I definitely do like to experiment with flash, but with continuous light, I just love how you can see the scene in front of you and just the lighting and the colors in real time. So throughout today's shoot, I'll be using 2 lights, and they are both the MOLUS X60, and it actually releases today. So a huge thank you to Zune for sending them over and working with me on this video. Zune's lights have really been a staple within my lighting and the gear that I bring with me every single day when I shoot. So I'm super excited to play around with these new ones. But let's not waste any time, let's get right into it. So for the first setup, I decided on this gray backdrop, and gray may sound kind of boring, but it's actually a really great backdrop color to work with. And that's because with pretty minimal effort, you can basically turn it into white, or you can go the complete opposite route and make it pitch black. I wanted a little bit of both here with really strong highlights and also really dark shadows, so it felt like the perfect choice. I then had Evan jump into frame here, and together we decided that this long trench coat would complement the lighting setup because I was going for a pretty moody, contrasted silhouette for this look, and the trench coat was just super long and had a nice shape to it as well. I wanted the backlight for the setup to project a sort of radial gradient effect with lighter whites and grays sort of surrounding his head, and then it getting darker and like vignetting the frame as well, almost like outlining him. So I did this by placing the MOLUS X60 on a stand with a mini diffusion dome attached to it, and it was perfect for creating that sort of feathered effect I wanted. From there, I could play with the brightness, the color temperature, and also the height of the light. The second light was then projecting at him from the side, so it wouldn't cast onto the backdrop and interfere with the separate light behind him and what that was doing. This light was also the MOLUS X60 once again, but this time with a Bowen's mount adapter so that I could attach on my optical spot. I wanted that sort of spotlight effect onto him as his foreground light, but I didn't want it so harsh, so I went ahead and I sort of blurred out the edges. And just like Zune's other lights, this one has a super high powerful output while also somehow being really compact as well. The main body of it is literally the size of a credit card. When I was unboxing it, I was wondering where the rest of it was because it's really that small in person. The thickness of it is 1/3 of a traditional 60-watt cinematography light, and the weight is 1/4 of other similar lights in its category. So it's quite literally the smallest one of its kind on the market right now. And as great as it is for my back, for my gear to be lightweight and small when I'm on the go, it's also super helpful when I'm wanting to use a professional light in a small space where a normal light might not fit. Sometimes I want to sneak a small light into the set to help add more interest and texture, but that's not really possible when you're working with all these giant lights. For this next setup, I wanted to change it up completely and do something really colorful and fun, specifically with blues and neon greens. I changed out the gray backdrop for a blue color and then had Evan in this colored mesh top to go along with the whole vibe of the concept. I kept that mini diffusion dome on the MOLUS X60, but I brought it from the background to the foreground, and it acted as one of Evan's 2 main light sources. I also changed the color of this light to a blue. I then took that other MOLUS X60 with the optical spot on it and input in a window shade gobo, so it projected these really cool, harsh, hard lines, and I just positioned it in a way that it was projecting on kind of like his chest up because I was shooting kind of close-up portraits here. I also set that hue to a really bright neon green. I feel like I really never work with these 2 color combinations together, and I did really enjoy it. It's honestly really crazy how different this looks from the last setup, even though I'm using the exact same lights, the exact same modifiers. All I really did was obviously change up the positioning and the colors of the lights. This is actually Zune's first 60-watt light with a grip battery, which is really convenient to not feel sort of constrained by cords while you're shooting. It does come with cords though, so if you decide not to charge the battery or leave it at home, you can of course rely on those cords to get you through your shoot. And even though this light is super small, they've still managed to include their advanced cooling system, so you you can have your lights at really high intensities without having to worry if your system is going to overheat. For the final setup, I changed the backdrop once again, this time to a black because I wanted the setup to really highlight Evan and not focus so much on the background and lighting that. The first light was the MOLUS X60 with the optical spot attached on it once again, and the next light was with a Bowen's mount attachment and Zhiyun's 90D softbox. I had Evan in this all black outfit, which I actually kind of regretted at first because the black fit with the black backdrop was a bit too much. He started to get lost into the background because they were the same color here. It was just blending into one another, but I worked around this by placing that one light with the softbox a bit behind him, so it almost acted like a bit of a backlight outlining him, setting him apart from the backdrop on that one side, but was also close enough and powerful enough to where it was still lighting his face as well. With all this, I just found myself cropping the composition of these shots a little bit closer up to focus in on his face, highlighting the different gobo patterns I was using here. So I had some ones with little dots. I also played around with the star as well. This light also outputs a full 60 watts in dual color temperatures without any flickering, and offers different RGB moods and lighting effect presets as well. You can emulate fireworks, disco, police car, all really helpful stuff, especially when you're shooting video. It also has a classic dual dial control, which I feel like we're all pretty used to, so it really makes everything easy. One dial is for color temperature and mode, and the other is for the brightness adjustment. And if you're someone who prefers using an app, Zhiyun has their own, so you can just make adjustments really easy from there. And even if you're shooting with multiple lights like I am here, you can simultaneously control all of them from the app. And one of my absolute favorite things about it is that it is compatible with Bowen's mount accessories. All of my modifiers, from softboxes to globes and my optical spot that I mentioned a ton, these are all compatible with Bowen's mount. So it's really important that I'm adding lights to my collection that are also compatible so that I can use my existing modifiers and shape my light and take it to the next level. And that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed these different lighting setups and even learned a thing or two about Zhiyun's new lights. Like I said, they just launched today, so I'll definitely be leaving some links down below in the description so that you guys can pick one up for yourself. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.